What's going on, everybody? Here I got a very, very good guest, a very special friend of mine, right? As you guys know, I'm talking about, dating, relationships, personal growth, just insights with Zoe, as we know, right? But today I got a special guest. His name's George Howa,
Yeah.
and I've worked with him. I met him in 2015, right? 2015.
Yeah. No,
We first met
I
2015.
think it's a bit earlier, bro. I think it's 2014.
Okay. But you officially started your company in 2016,
Correct.
and I stopped working with you full time about 2 years ago. But George has built multi-million-dollar companies in Australia. One of them is pretty much the number one social media strategy and digital marketing agency in the country. Right? Amazing company. Today we're going to talk about purpose, right, and what it actually takes to survive and thrive in this crazy ass world with your purpose in mind, right? So that's why I got George here. We actually just caught up for some dinner, but I said to him, "Hey, look, man, let's do a quick video." He's like, "Yeah, let's go, let's do it." So yeah, man, George, tell me, you built a multi-million-dollar company from scratch with $250, right? And you had a lot of ups and downs. I was there through everything, not everything, but most things. We used to talk about everything. Tell me, man, what helped you get through the ups and downs, the hardest moments, man? What actually pushed you and helped you keep your focus?
Oh. I watch so many of these videos about other people being asked that question. I've never been asked that question like that. Because, man, I appreciate you. Like, you've got so much, passion for what you do and helping people. And the way you just asked that question, it just made me reflect on so much. So the way I think when I look back at the hard times, and there's been many good times and many hard times. You can't have one without the other.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that. What got me through those moments that were really down is knowing who I am, knowing my values and what I stand for,
Right.
and believing believing in myself that I can get through whatever I'm going through at that time.
Right.
That it will just become another moment, another stage, and once I get through, it will take me through to a better spot, basically.
Okay.
You just keep going. You just got to keep going.
Okay. Strong belief in self is so important. What about vision and something we always talk about? Something called postulates, right?
Mm.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Postulates. Well, a postulate. Should we define a postulate?
Yeah.
Postulate it's a scientific word. They use it in scientific testing. And a postulate is basically the proposed end result of an action.
Mm.
So, for example, I postulate that I can walk across the room and open the door. That's a postulate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's the end result of an action,
Right.
or an event. So when you postulate, when you are actually creating thought, you are constantly postulating the end result of events or actions all the time. It's a natural thing that you do as an entity.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the word I was actually thinking.
Yeah, as a perceptive being. So a postulate is so important because basically you are never wrong. Like, if you think about it, you are actually never, ever, ever wrong. You always will be right. If you've ever failed at anything, it's because you actually postulated that you would fail at some point.
Right.
And you are always right. You're always right. Failure, there's no such thing.
Mm-hmm.
You actually succeed all the time. But your success is bound by your postulates.
Okay.
And sometimes you can't control your postulates because you've got anxieties and fears and rationalities that then postulate on your behalf.
Yeah.
Right? So being in control of those postulates is so important. And let's say, for example, I'm scared of elevators. Right? So you think elevators are going to crash. I'm not scared of elevators, but as an example, you're scared of elevators and you think elevators are going to crash when you go in an elevator, right? I guarantee you one day, if you keep thinking that way, you will make your postulate correct. Something will happen where you get in an elevator that's just dodgy and it'll work that way. So postulates are a big part of it. So yeah, the question was, the belief in postulates, like if you're failing, your postulates have to be, okay, I'm going to succeed out of this.
Right.
Regardless, one day.
Yeah.
I'll get through it.
Yeah. And in large part, you got to kind of play it like a game. You know what I mean? Because I always say life is a game, right? And you got to kind of sometimes trick your mind or trick the universe. Like, something, you feel like something's going to go wrong. But if you just say, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and just picture it actually working out and see what happens, right? I'm just going to be stubborn and I'm just going to think to myself, I know exactly what's going to happen. I know exactly where I'm going to end up. You don't know for sure, but
I had a great meeting today with someone. He built a very successful consulting business. And how he built that business was very simple. He said, okay, I predicted or I knew where I wanted to be in 5 years and I planned the business backwards from there.
Right.
So I wanted to be a $50 million business, for example. And then he just went, okay, that's the postulate.
Okay.
Then he worked backwards from there.
Okay.
And then he worked out what type of team he needed, what type of agreements he needed with the team, all incentives, all that sort of thing to build the 50. And they achieved that in 4 years, not 5.
Okay. That's amazing. Yeah. So it's kind of like a form of prayer or visualization, but you just know where you're going to end up, right? Like you said before, you if you're picturing the elevator is going to crash, that's the end result. It's the outcome. So you have to have a
You'll make yourself right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You always will make yourself right. You as a being, as something that is whatever you believe in, you are an image of God or you're this or that, you will always be right. You do not fail, no matter what.
Yeah.
So every time you've failed is because you predicted that outcome at some point, even if it was subtly.
Yeah.
You might have just been sitting on the edge of your bed one day and for a split second you went, you know what, I'm sick of that.
Yeah.
And then one day, 5 years later, the whole thing comes crashing down.
Planted that seed of doubt.
You put that in there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so it's important to have people around you that, if you're going to have people around you a lot, you need to make sure that they're on the same page as you, in terms of positive energy and stuff like that, because they can bring you down. That's why it's important to surround yourself with, people who are actually going to help you, or people who are, on the same page when it comes to being successful, right? Which comes, people who are actually could be trouble. You don't want to be around those people, But in regards to purpose again, right? What would you say is your main purpose when it comes to your life or your business? Yeah.
Well, it's changed a lot. Since, I had my daughter, my purpose is for her, I think I want to help people and I want to help as many people as possible. And I want to set a good example for my daughter and make sure she knows what good purpose, good values is.
Yeah.
And I think as fathers, that's where we're very needed. That's what we lead in the family. That's
right. Setting that example. And we're building those values, those strong family values.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, yeah, hey, this is just the start of many things that we'll discuss in the future. So I appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
appreciate everything you've done for me, man. And we'll definitely talk again soon.